Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. club. I'm off from work. My annual leave has commenced, and I'm just down here close to home in some bushland early in the morning, and I just absolutely love the smell of the bush first thing in the morning. It just smells fresh, it's quiet. You can hear the birds chirping and the cars. There are cars just passing a bridge here, which I'm going to go down to and just sit underneath, because as a kid I remember I used to love sitting below bridges where trains or cars were passing above and being in my own little world. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me today on Jim's 5 a.m. club. And what we'll do is we'll do a walk and talk. It'll be more of a stroll and chat, and I'll do it from this little vantage point here. It's peaceful, it's a nice little bolt hole, and we'll hear those cars gently crossing that bridge above us and giving us that sense of nostalgia for those of us who enjoyed sitting under bridges as children. Anyway, what I want to do today is I want to take you through a book summary, a pretty awesome book summary called Feeling Good, and it's written by an author by the name of David Burns. And I'll just cross over the waterway here. It's been raining the past few weeks, so it's nice around here. Let me give you a bit of a background here view, and you'll see it's gorgeous. So don't be alarmed when you hear the cars going over the bridge. We're quite safe down here. So let's just commence on our journey with this book summary, Feeling Good. And feeling good is something that I think we all want. Everybody wants to feel good. So the author talks about the importance of understanding that our feelings are a reflection of our thoughts. Now, it's pretty simple. You know, what you think, you feel. So your emotions are a product of your thoughts. So you can change your moods by changing your thoughts. And by changing your thoughts, they change the chemistry which happens within your body, and by changing that chemistry, we reinforce those feelings, and we can stimulate those feelings on demand. Is something that we'd all love to be able to get to the point of achieving, that feeling good on demand, and just enjoying life. Anyway, let's continue here. So he makes a very, very powerful point, and it's so bloody obvious. You know, I've known this all my life. I'm sure most of us know this, and it's pretty simple. And yet, it seems to be a problem that everybody seems to struggle with. And the message that the author talks about here is that pervasive negative thoughts, so those really deep negative thoughts, are the ones that cause depression. You know, you can't feel depressed if you've got positivity around you, or you're constantly generating positive thoughts. It's only those negative thoughts that we have on a regular basis, that we tend to dwell on and focus on, that lead us to a deep, dark and ugly place. So pervasive negative thoughts are the cause of depressions. But some thoughts, the author talks about, are the product of gross cognitive distortion. So it's when we have negative thoughts, or we create those negative thoughts, but those negative thoughts aren't rational, aren't serving us, and in fact they're a gross distortion. A gross distortion of reality. It's pretty deep when you sit and think about it. You know, that we've got thoughts, we've got things in our lives which are grossly, not just simply, but grossly distorting reality. And we need to examine those thoughts and do something about them. Or replace them with grossly distorting thoughts which are positive. Simple. It's absolutely simple. You know, if you can have thoughts which are grossly distorting reality in a negative way, then why not replace them with grossly distorting thoughts in the positive way? Easier said than done, I understand that, so I don't want to be flippant. It's something which is so important. But the author then leads us into the discussion that there are at least 10 cognitive distortions that twist your thinking. And that'll be the subject of another 5 a.m. club because it's so important. But what I'll do is just quickly go through those 10 to at least put them top of mind. And those 10 cognitive distortions that F up our lives are starting with number 1, the all or nothing thinking. The second one is when we overgeneralization. The third one is called mental filter. The fourth one is where we disqualify the positive. The fifth one is where we're jumping to conclusions. The sixth one is where we're magnifying and minimalizing. Depending on what you magnify and what you minimalize will impact your thinking. So that's number 6. Number 7 is emotional reasoning. Number 8 is where we have should statements in our lives. Should this, should that, where we should all over ourselves. The number 9 is where we label and we mislabel feelings and things and people. And the last one is called personalization, where we personalize things and take things on board that we may not necessarily need to take on board and to personalize. So they're the 10 cognitive distortions that the author talks about, and it's really, really powerful. And it's mind-opening. It's revelation to understand that there are people out there leading miserable, depressed lives, and it's all because of what they think about, how they think about, and how it's distorted. It's not real, it's distorted. So we need to sort it out, undistort it, to get back to living a healthy, happy life and feeling good about ourselves, because at the end of the day, feeling good is our birthright. We were born to feel good. We were born to glorify creation and our Creator. You know, he could have created every single tree the same. He could have done everything in monochrome, but he chose to do it in colour, and for us to be able to see and receive those colours. So it was all done for our benefit, for our joy, for our appreciation. So when you've got all of these wonderful things in the world, and yet we choose to distort them and make them, or enable them to create a feeling of bad or unhappiness or disappointment, then we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. So the author then, as we said before, we talked about those 10 cognitive distortions. But one thing that he focuses on is that the worst distortion of all is the all or nothing thinking. What we've got to understand is that it's not all or nothing. Nothing in our life is all or nothing. There is no ultimatum. Nobody can create an ultimatum in our lives. You know, each spectrum has degrees across it. So when somebody gives you a either or choice, you say, no, it can be either or 1,001 different options within that spectrum. So don't get sucked into the either or all or nothing sort of scenario in life, is the message from this book. So the author goes on to remind us that we suffer because of these irrational distortions of our thinking. So by suffering because of these irrational distortions, you know, because of these distortions are illogical. Let me say it again and again and again. The distortions that hinder us, which cause pain in our lives, in many ways are illogical. They're pessimistic thoughts which cause your symptoms. It's your pessimism. It's the way you see things. And those things can be sorted out. They can be corrected. They can be changed. So what the author then goes on to say is he gives us a call to action. And he says that you can restructure and you can take control of your thoughts, because once you take control of your thoughts, you change your model. You change the way you see the world. And you can improve everything out of sight. So he talks about something else, and he talks about the depressed self-image that people sometimes have, and that the depressed self-image can be characterized by what the author says, the 4 Ds. And the Ds are defect. We see defects. We accept defeat. We feel deserted, isolated, so desertion, and deprivation. We feel deprived. So they're 4 things that we can focus on and try and change, and we change them by the way we think, by the way we feel, and what we think about. So we have indeed the power to change those things. So the author says that we can boost our self-esteem. We can change the way we think, we can change the way we feel, and we can reclaim joy. And the first thing that we can all do, and I love this, it's a cheeky one. The first thing we can all do is we can learn to talk back to that internal critic. Learn to talk back, learn to mouth back, learn to stick up for yourself, be assertive, and talk back to that internal critic who's always on your case. And the author then talks about something which is more practical in terms of what we can do. We can write down our critical negative thoughts. We can journal them, write them down, and try and understand what we're saying, when we're saying it, what triggers what we're saying to ourselves, and how we feel about it. And by doing these sorts of activities, we can learn why our thoughts are distorted, and then we can have more energy and more courage to identify what's going on, so that we can learn to talk back and tell that self-critic to piss off and get out of here. So in terms of documenting these negative thoughts and these things that we've been talking about, and to get us ready to talk back to our internal critic, the author talks about a 3 column technique in terms of note-taking. And it's really simple. It's not complex at all, but something that we need to have other people remind us of. So you need to be able to write down what you thought, what you were thinking, what the negative thought was that crossed your mind, then you need to ask yourself, after you had that thought, what were you saying to yourself? What did you end up saying to yourself once you had that thought? And third and foremost is to then assess and ask yourself the question, why is this upsetting me? You know, what caused it to upset me? And that way you get a better understanding in terms of, you know, what's going on behind the scenes. And the author then also mentions something which is pretty powerful and pretty clever and pretty useful. And it's called the biofeedback. And he says that you need to get hold of a clicker. You know those clickers that people have when they're numbering the people who are going to an event or something? Every time somebody comes into a store, they click, 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 click. The author suggests that people buy themselves a clicker, and to use that click to click each time they have a negative thought, and to log your score throughout the day, but to also write down on an hourly basis how many clicks, how many negative thoughts you caught yourself doing. So once again, this is all about self-assessment and understanding what makes you tick, and having a negative thought clicker to log what's going on in your life, to help you then understand what you need to do to sort it out. And the author also talks about the importance of reading out aloud the list of negative cognitive distortions, and learn how you twist things every day. So I guess knowledge and awareness is really important. To be aware and to understand that you're your own worst enemy, and to know what's going on in not only your life, but going on in the life of all the people around us. Because we all have these cognitive distortions that infect our daily lives. So it's important to understand them and remind yourself that these things are your enemy. These things are going on in your life, and to do what you need to do to battle them. So you need to twist things. You need to twist things around and to change the language that you use. And the author suggests to be in a position to replace the should word. The should word is a very, very dangerous word. Whenever you have friends, family, or people around you telling you that you should do this and you should do that, and then we catch ourselves saying we should, and we end up shoulding all over ourselves. It's a dangerous word, the should word. To be able to replace that should word with a series of words as follows. Instead of saying should, consider saying it would be nice if blah, blah, blah. And we just finish off by once again summarising that a lot of the suffering that people undergo in their lives is because of their irrational cognitive distortions that they've either inherited, picked up, or developed over the years. Who knows where they've come from? The media are notorious at creating a lot of these fears, a lot of these irrational fears that everybody feels, and they are heightened at times of panic, like at the moment with COVID-19, last year with the bushfires. You know it. You know when it happens. When times are tough, all of a sudden our biggest enemies come out of the woodwork and scare the living daylights out of everybody, and I guess, infect everybody with things which are worse than the virus. The irrational fears that we all have are generated by many of the people, many of the so-called friends that we have around us on social media. So we need to be careful, we need to protect ourselves, and once we protect ourselves and sort ourselves out, then we're in a better position then to help our friends and family to get themselves up and running and to living a more productive and happy life. Anyway, let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I'm well, and I feel absolutely great. I feel like a kid again, being underneath this bridge. I've got the bridge above me, as you can see, and I've got the cars crossing over, making those noises, which take me back to when I was a kid, growing up in Kingsgrove with all my mates. We'd go down to the railway tracks, we'd catch frogs, we'd put coins on the tracks, we'd throw crackers around, we'd play football, we'd ride our bikes, and we'd have the time of our lives. We'd leave in the morning, say bye-bye to our parents, and come back at sundown and have enjoyed an absolute adventure throughout the whole day. So to my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, and let's take a few of these lessons from this wonderful book and learn to deal with these cognitive distortions and to find joy, to find happiness, and to feel good about ourselves, because that's our birthright. We were designed, we were created, we were brought into the world and made in God's image to feel good and to learn how to feel good and to celebrate creation and to celebrate all the wonderful things that we have around us. So take it on board and be an ambassador to feeling good and to do whatever you can to make yourself and others aware of these irrational fears, the illogical cognitive distortions that we all suffer, that we have all inherited, and to do away with them and to learn to talk back. Talk back to that internal critic who's causing grief to all and sundry. Yassas, take care, and bye for now from Jim's 5am Club. And I look forward to delivering more 5am Clubs now that I'm on holidays. Yesterday I cranked out six 20-minute vlogs, and we'll see how many I can crank out over the next few days. But I absolutely love what I do. It gets me up early in the morning and it keeps me up late at night. What more do I want? This is my legacy, this is what I enjoy, and this is what I'll continue doing for the rest of my days. Yassas, be lucky, bye for now, and until we chat again, sasagapao. Bye for now. Ciao.